Emeline turned and arched an eyebrow at her hostess. She held Mrs. Conrad's gaze and saw the exact moment when the silly woman remembered. Mrs. Conrad's already pink complexion deepened to a shade of beet that really didn't become her at all. "That is, her hostess stammered. This was what one got when one accepted an invitation from a lady who aspired to, but didn't quite sail in the highest circles of society. It was Emeline's own fault, really. She sighed and took pity. "He's in the army, then?" Mrs. Conrad grasped the bait gratefully. "Oh, no, not any more. At least I don't believe so." "Ah," Emeline said, and tried to think of another subject. The room was large and expensively decorated, with a painting on the ceiling overhead depicting Hades pursuing Persephone. The goddess looked particularly vacuous, smiling down sweetly on the assembly below. She hadn't a chance against the god of the underworld, even if he did have bright pink cheeks in this portrayal. Emeline's current protégée, Jane Greenglove, sat on a settee nearby, conversing with young Lord Simmons, a very nice choice. Emeline nodded approvingly. Lord Simmons had an income of over £8,000 a year and a lovely house near Oxford. That alliance would be very suitable, and since Jane's older sister, Eliza, had already accepted the hand of Mr. Hampton, things were falling into place quite neatly. They always did, of course, when Emeline consented to guide a young lady into society, but it was pleasing to have one's expectations fulfilled nevertheless. Or it should be. Emeline twisted a lace ribbon at her waist before she caught herself and smoothed it out again. Actually, she was feeling a bit out of sorts, which was ridiculous. Her world was perfect, absolutely perfect. Emeline glanced casually at the stranger, only to find his dark gaze fixed on her. His eyes crinkled ever so slightly at the corners, as if he was amused by something, and that something might be her. Hastily she looked away again. Awful man. He was obviously aware that every lady in the room had noticed him. Beside her, Mrs. Conrad had started prattling, evidently in an attempt to cover her gaffe. "He owns an importing business in the colonies. I believe he's in London on business. That's what Mr. Conrad says anyway, and he's as rich as Croesus, although you'd never guess it from his attire." It was impossible not to glance at him again after this information. From mid-thigh up, his clothing was plain indeed, black coat and brown and black patterned waistcoat. All in all a conservative wardrobe until one came to his legs. The man was wearing some type of native leggings. They were made from an odd tan leather, quite dull, and they were gartered just below the knees with red, white, and black striped sashes. The leggings split in the front over the shoes, with brightly embroidered flaps that fell to either side of his feet, and his shoes were the strangest of all, for they had no heels. He seemed to be wearing a type of slipper made of the same soft, dull leather, with beading or embroidery work running from ankle to toe. Yet even heelless, the stranger was quite tall. He had brown hair, and as far as she could tell from halfway across the room, his eyes were dark. Certainly not blue or green. They were heavy-lidded and intelligent. She suppressed a shiver. Intelligent men were so hard to manage. His arms were crossed, one shoulder propped against the wall, and his gaze was interested, as if they were the exotic ones, not he. His nose was long, with a bump in the middle, his complexion dark, as if he'd lately come from some exotic shore. The bones of his face were raw and prominent, cheeks, nose, and chin jutting in an aggressively masculine way that was nevertheless perversely attractive. His mouth, in contrast, was wide and almost soft, with a sensuous inverted dent in the lower lip. It was the mouth of a man who liked to savor, to linger and taste. A dangerous mouth. Emeline looked away again. "Who is he?" Mrs. Conrad stared. "Don't you know?" "No." Her hostess was delighted. "Why, my dear, that's Mr. Samuel Hartley. Everyone has been talking about him, though he has only been in London a se'nnight or so. He's not quite acceptable because of the—" Mrs. Conrad met Emily.